Jo and I'm Academy Director for Sheer Edge Training.
Hi, I'm Karen and I'm one of the Academy Directors for Sheer Edge Training.
Today we're going to be talking through 5 steps to event success. In this session, we'll provide you with 5 key guidelines to follow just to ensure that you know how to deliver your event both on and offline. Step 1 is the planning, step 2 is the preparation, step 3 is promotion, step 4 is execution, and step 5 is feedback.
So, step 1, it's all in the planning. Now, this might be a very obvious place to start, but it is really important to make sure that you plan your event properly. So planning is key. The first top tip is planning is key. The next thing to be mindful of when you're planning is time. And you might be thinking, why is time important? So time is important because you can manage what you need to do, what you need to deliver in that time. So when you get a brief from a client, you can ask them, when does this need to be fulfilled by? What have they done already? And then you can work out actually how much time have you got to deliver what the client wants. So time gives you a really good guide for managing expectations as well, which when you're dealing with an event is really, really important. When you've worked out time, and obviously we have a lot of time in our days, but you need to manage this correctly. The next thing to think about is then the actual concept. So planning is also the concept, and what I wanted to do here is just talk you through the 5 basic principles of a concept. So you've got the why. So why are you holding this event? Why should people attend this event, and why is it important? If you refer back to your planning and your concept at every stage of your event, so through your preparation, through your delivery, through your marketing planning, through your execution, your event will be a success. So your why is why should people attend your event? Why is this event taking place? You then move on to the what. So what type of event is it? Is it going to be a live event? Is it going to be a virtual event? Is it going to be a conference? Is it going to be an exhibition? What is making your event stand out? You may find that there are lots of events of a similar nature taking place. So what is going to make your event stand out, which then makes people come to your event? The where. Now, a lot of people overlook where as an important part of an event, but you need to make sure that you have thought about where this event is taking place. So where as in the facility, but also where as in the location. This links back to the demographic that are attending. So if your event is attended by, let's say, nurses and doctors, so they're on pretty strict timescales as to when they're out of the hospital, you need to make sure this event is taking place in an accessible place, somewhere that's got good parking, that's got good transport links to ensure you're getting to ensure the delegates can attend. So where, you need to focus on where is it located, what are your transport links like, within the building, what else is there for people? So is there parking, is there lift access, is there a train station nearby? So always make sure that where is top of your list. Now again, when you're planning an event and you've spoke to your client, they might say to you, I've got to have my event in the summer, it's the best time of the year, you know, the weather's really nice, everybody's always free. The trouble with a summer event is you need to look at, again, who you're targeting the event at. If you're targeting it at people with children, so people that have got children that are at school, they're more than likely going to be on holiday or taking down time to spend with children. So when you're planning an event, look at the when. So look at when school holidays are, look at when bank holidays are, look at when other events are taking place. This will give you a calendar of your other options. So don't just pick a date. Make sure you've researched what else is happening on that date, because what you don't want to do is pick a date and your competitors on the same day, or there's a big political party conference, or it's a bank holiday, because you will restrict the amount of people that attend. So when's really important. And finally, who. So who is this event targeted at? Who are they? What's their demographic? What's their age? Who are they, and why are they attending? Are they internal? Are they external? Do they have to attend the event, or are they paying to attend? So it's really important when you're when you're looking at the concept behind your event, that you think about who it is that is going to be coming along to the event. You can then target them properly, but you can also make sure that your event is planned to suit their needs. So an example for that would be, if your event is targeted at, let's say, working mothers and fathers, you wouldn't want to start your event really before 9:30. If they're doing school drop-offs, they're not going to be able to get to your event in that time. You need to think about the end time. So again, if people are doing drop-offs and pickups, if your event is an industry event, you may be able to stretch the start and finish time. Or if it's a 3 or 4 day event, again, you can have longer days because people are expecting to stay awake. So the top tips here for you are, when you're looking at the planning, I refer to it as the concept behind the event. Take time and sit and work out the why, the what, the where, the when and the who. If you've got all that sorted, you can refer back to it constantly through your planning process. So my top tips for planning are going to be time and concept. Next, we're going to move on to step 2, and preparation definitely is key. I think anybody who works in the industry knows that preparation is key. So by that, I personally mean you are giving yourself time to think about what is involved in the event. So you're looking at what the client has given you as a brief, and you're going, right, is it a live event? Is it a virtual event? So that's a different planning tack that you've got for both of those. What's the budget? Who's looking after the budget? Who's responsible for putting together your project plan? Are you having a project plan? Where are you storing key documents? Do you need to invest in something like Asana or Trello to work as a project management tool and to store documents? Do you need to look at the team structure that's in place? Who have you got in place now, and what roles are they doing? Do you need to bring in other people to fulfill the team structure? Once you've got your team, what are they doing? So make sure that you have thought about roles and responsibilities for people as well. All this you would put into your planning, purely because once the client is giving you the brief, this gives you the chance then to structure how you're going to plan the event. So all these little things are really behind the scenes stuff that the client doesn't need to know about, but you will get ready for when you're delivering the event. You'll also think about things like suppliers. Do you need suppliers? Who are they? Have you worked with them before? How are you going to manage that process? You're looking at the venue as well. So the venue is key in any event, whether it's a virtual event or whether it's a live event. So your venue is obviously where the event's taking place. What can they offer you? Have they got AV included? What catering options have they got? What facilities have they got? If it's a virtual event, your venue is going to be the platform where it's hosted. So what does that have to offer for your delegates? So preparation for me is more behind the scenes of you thinking about the event, getting yourself ready to deliver the event. So what I want to do now is just pick out a few of those topics for you and just go into a tiny bit more detail. So I think most of us know about live events. That's what we've all done over the past few years, and so the preparation for your live event is quite straightforward. So you're looking at, where is the event being held? Has there been a site visit? If not, you need to go on a site visit. You might be thinking, why do I need a site visit if it's a boardroom for 20 people? Well, as an organizer, you need to know the way into the building. You need to know where the toilets are, where the catering's served. You need to know where the fire exits are. You need to think what the client is going to ask you. And also, it's really good to have been to the venue, so you know actually what it looks and feels like. You know, is there a restaurant? Is there a bar? What do the hotel rooms look like? Just so you are fully prepared for any questions that a client could ask you. Also, with live events, you're going to be hosting them at a venue, so make sure that you have found out what's included in the rate that you're paying. So is the AV included, and what is the AV? What's the catering packages that are an option, and what other facilities are available? If there's no AV on site at all, you'll have to go down the route of a production company. So have you got a process in place for speaking to production companies and getting quotes back from them? Live events as well, you will need staff to support you. So you as a as an event manager, project manager, you will have a team to support you. You may have somebody that's looking after the admin, someone that's looking after delegates, someone that's looking after registration. Once you go to the venue, you'll see kind of what people you need on the day to help support that. And with a live event, we've said right back at the start, it's before you have even got to the stage of preparation. In your planning, you would have asked the client the question, so it is a live event, is it a conference, is it an exhibition, is it a dinner, what are you doing? So you know kind of what the client's expectation is. And then other little things that you should consider as well. What's the accommodation? Do people need accommodation? Do you need to look at the parking requirements? Are the taxis, it's little things that the client asks you as you're going along. And with a live event, there tends to be quite a long list of like miscellaneous items. So with a live event, with your preparation, it's key to go to the venue and understand the venue, and it's key to know what suppliers you need to run that event. The next one I wanted to look at was virtual events. Now, for most people listening to this chat, this is a completely new world. Virtual events have been around for quite a long time, but not really in the foreground that they are now. I know over in America, they do a lot of virtual events, and I think in the UK, we're kind of just picking up the pace now. So the preparation for virtual events, the most important thing to do is to work out the platform that you're going to use to host your event. So how you work that out is you're going to speak to the client and see what they want to do. So what kind of virtual event do they want? Is it simply one plenary session and people come along and listen? Is it a conference with lots of breakouts? Is it an exhibition? Do they want to run different streams at the same time? You need to get that information from the client first to ensure you are presenting them with a platform that works. Do you need to think about things like a full studio setup? So does the client want to come and pre-record items for their virtual session, or are they happy to do it all live? You're there as an advisor as well to say what is the best way for them to move forward for this. Do you need to work with a technical supplier to get this done? Can the platform that you're using do that for you, or do you need to work with somebody like a producer or a webmaster or a technician to actually get that done for you? Do you need to work with moderators? Now, when you've got a live event, you'll have a team of people to do different jobs for you. On a virtual event, you will need to talk to the client and say, actually, if we're doing a conference and a plenary session, do you want the audience to be able to participate? Do you want them to be able to do Q&A? If you do want the audience to participate, you'll need people to moderate the questions. You'll also need people to assist with the speakers. They'll have lots and lots of different questions because it's all online. Your speakers may not be confident at presenting online. This is, like I said, this is new to all of us. So actually you may need to think, do I need to put in the timeline of my planning some time to coach the speakers through what they need to say? That's really important, because actually the whole virtual world is very unnerving for lots of people, that you're used to standing up in front of 1,000 people to speak, but actually presenting at home on your own is very different. And some people don't know where to look, what to say, what to wear, how to sit. So actually factoring it in a coaching session could be just what the client needs and then what the presenters need. You looking towards the future, I mean, at the moment it's all virtual events, but maybe in a year's time it could be that your client then goes, actually I'd like to do some virtual, but I do want some people to be able to attend. So it's always thinking in the back of your mind, this is great for now, but actually in the future, what can we do to the event and how can we evolve it? And a really important thing to think about with virtual events is we're not all experts. We're learning as we go along, and most of us haven't done a virtual event before, haven't done very many. So never worry about that. Always ask for help. Go to an agency, or ask a colleague, or ask somebody that you trust to say, I don't really know what I'm doing. Always ask a professional for help on this, because the virtual world is not like your live event, and you will need somebody with experience to lend a hand. So speak to a third party, speak to an agency to ensure that you're delivering what the client wants. The next thing to think about in your preparation is probably the scariest thing that we all have to do. It's the budget. Now, all I'm going to say first of all on this is take some time and find a spreadsheet that works for you. You don't have to use a spreadsheet that somebody else has used before, or if your clients always used it this way, you don't have to do that. Find a way that works for you, and then go with it. So spend a bit of time to research online what different spreadsheet options there are. Look at historically what your client's done before or what your company has done before, and get to know how it kind of flows and fits in. Once you find the one that you want, I'm going to give you a few top tips. Make sure you start as early as you can with your budget. And you might think, well, I don't know anything, but put in what you do know and then guess the rest. Have a best guess. With the budget, it's best to have your columns filled than empty, because you can always go back and edit them. So when you're starting out, put down what you do know and then make a best guess for things that you don't know. Make sure you listen everything individually. So set out your budget how it suits you. So you would probably do sort of venue items, you would do production items, you do accommodation, you do logistics. So break it all down and list everything. Like, don't be scared, list every little thing on there, because everything costs. When you're looking at your budget items, so budgeting can be quite complicated, but it's not really. So you've got your item within the budget. You've then got how much it is going to cost. That's your predicted expense. And then you'll have another column, which is its actual cost. And that's as simple as it gets. If you've got sponsorship options, you'll have what you are expected to get from your sponsor and then what actually comes in. So it's just two figures that you're trying to match up, and all you're doing constantly is reviewing this document. So every time you get a new piece of information in, or a new invoice comes in, or you get some more sponsorship in, you're updating your budget to keep it all up to date. Make sure you review it as often as you can. So put a note in your diary every week, every day, have a quick check of your budget to make sure that your figures are still accurate, nothing's chopped and changed. Always be realistic with everything. I know I said at the start, if you don't know the cost of something, just put a guess in, and that is right. Make sure it's an educated guess, just so you have got your total then is a realistic total. And finally, one of the most important things is if you're dealing with suppliers, so if you're dealing with a dinner and you need to get a quote for chair covers, or you need to get a cost for theming for your room, make sure you get at least 3 quotes so you can do a comparison of how much things cost. And then in your budget, you can either put in the most expensive one, so you've always got a total to come down to, and then make sure you've always got a contingency section in your budget. You may think, I don't need that, but with an event, there's always something that you don't expect. Like, for example, you may, if you've got an awards dinner in the summer, it's going to be a beautiful sunny day, it's the middle of July. What happens if there's a storm and it's raining? You need to think, well, I don't really want my guests to get wet. So you've got a contingency fund, do you buy umbrellas and have them by the door so people can pick them up as they go out? You may need an extra bit of contingency fund to get taxis for your speakers to and from the airport, to and from the train station. So it's always really good to have contingency in your budget, just to make sure that you're not caught short with anything. Admin. Now, I've grouped quite a lot of things within admin for you. I see admin covers quite a lot of things for me, really. When you're preparing for an event, admin's really important. You probably all know this, but actually event management is 99% admin. That is what you do to deliver an event. You're working with your spreadsheets, you're working with project plans, you're working with briefs. So a lot of what you do is paper-based, always online, and it's admin heavy. So a really important thing to consider is, how are you going to store and share this information with your teams? Have you got a central point? Are you using something like Google Drive where you can drop everything in there? Have you got a company G Drive, I Drive, R Drive that you can store everything in? Who has access to it and who can update it? Who's responsible for updating this information? Under admin, I've put roles and responsibilities, because I think, again, with the preparation, a lot of people forget about the team, and it's really important at the start to go through your team and go through what their roles are, so everybody knows right, you are responsible for delegate movement, you're responsible for registration, and this is the task that you need to do. Make sure everybody knows what they're supposed to do. It's really important to have your meetings. So at the minute, we're all doing our meetings on Zoom or Hangouts or whatever video conferencing function there is. It's important to plan your meetings in the diary with your team and also with the client. Because as your event rolls further and further towards its delivery date, it's harder and harder to get dates in the diary. So from the outset, make sure that you are putting in delivery dates, meeting dates, and dates that you're going to get stuff done by. The final point on admin is your suppliers, and again, it's who are you using and how do you manage them, and who is responsible for that process, because that's a really big part of an event, and they do take a lot of time and energy. So for example, if you're planning an Asian wedding, you'll have a lot of different suppliers, and they may not necessarily have been to that venue before. They may be new to the particular industry, so you need to appoint somebody who's confident in what they're doing and who's strong in that delivery side of things. So in this admin section, this is like a catch-all preparation area, but this area will make you really strong on your delivery side.
Now, as part of the venue side of things, if you were running a face-to-face event, even in the near future, the most important thing to consider is making sure that you have got a date in advance. The worst possible thing to do is to run a really short lead event and then find that you can't actually get a venue to host it at. So one of the key fundamental points I would make is get a couple of venues on hold, even if it's 6 or 12 months in advance, because you are going to be able to get better options that way. Think about what you want to make your event a success. Whether you're working with an AV or a production company, or whether you're doing it all in-house, you do need to consider not only hosting your delegates, but also what sort of production setup you need. And that has to be factored into the room size as well. A lot of people will just book a room based on the fact that it will fit the delegates, and then don't realise they need a stage, and then they need backdrops and the rest. So that would be something I would really factor in, what you need to consider before you even book a venue. What you will find is time is of the essence, and as much as you will probably love searching and researching venues, you are really busy doing what you do. And so working with a venue finds agency can still give you the control. You are still responsible for giving the brief to the agency, and you know, if it's a good agency, they will want to get a really good brief from you, so they don't have to keep coming back and forth. The agency will basically provide you with options, and if they're a good agency, they'll throw in a wild card for good measure. They will all fit the bill, so you will still make the choice, and it will save you trawling the internet. The best thing to do is to be as upfront as possible about your budget, even if it's an aspirational budget, as Karen mentioned. You still need to have an idea of what your expenditure is going to be for the venue itself, whether it's a room hire only, whether it's a day delegate rate. These are all things that you need to consider. And the venues will work with you if they know what your parameters are. And the great thing about an agency is they'll be your you know, they'll look at ways in which you can achieve your budget alongside the venue. The other thing is, does the venue actually give the right message for the event that you're putting on? So for instance, if for, you know, you're having to put on an event that's for redundancy purposes, would an all singing all dancing expensive venue do the trick? It really wouldn't. So you really need to factor in what that venue says about what the type of event that you're putting on. As I've mentioned, time is an issue for many people. So working with a venue find agency can support you with your search. So then we look at promoting your event. Communication really is key, and it's really important to make sure that when you are looking to put on event, that you look at the right way to communicate your events. You should really have some kind of communication plan, even if it's an internal event that you're putting on, because there's going to be right and wrong ways to communicate what your event has, what the nature of it is, you know, who are you actually targeting, what are the fundamental areas that your event's going to cover. So putting a plan in place will enable you to be able to market and communicate it in the right way, in the right channels. The other thing to consider is who you should involve in your plans of communicating. Ultimately, your team really needs to be on board with it. So I would recommend making sure that whatever your plan is and however you're planning to communicate it externally, that your team are also on board and they can help support you to communicate it. Timescale again is a massive factor. Unfortunately, we've worked with many clients and unfortunately timelines have not been long enough to help them to promote their event, and sadly the event, as it was a saleable event, couldn't go ahead. So you really need to make sure, if it's a chargeable event, whether it's online or offline, that you do need to factor in some lead time to enable your event communication to gain traction. As I've mentioned, making sure that you're communicating to the right channels. If it's a regional event, maybe speaking to regional newspapers, maybe speaking to radio stations, speaking to local chamber of commerce. If it's national or international, the same. And if there are any associations that you can link it to. How do we ensure everyone understands their role in the event? Well, it's important to make sure that your team are really on board and that they are singing and dancing and breathing the whole event and the experience that you're looking to put out there. Whether that's a social media post, a press release, or something in between. Your events team can actually get involved in the communication of the event, as long as you advise them if there are any parameters or elements that you need them to factor in, or if there are any areas that you would rather they didn't communicate. So as long as you communicate internally with your team, it will enable you to have the right sort of event success. Let me move on to the marketing of your events. And in a similar way to the communication, you need to look at the areas of marketing that are essential for your event success. Whether it's an online or an offline event, there are going to be different audiences that your event appeals to. And it's really important to do that initial research first of all. Look at, what does your ideal client look like? What do they enjoy doing? What social media platforms do they live on? If you're putting on an event that's targeting an accountant, what areas do they go to? You could look at advertising in Financial Times. There's a whole raft of brilliant areas that you can target your clients, but make sure you understand who you're targeting to. Definitely have a clear plan, as well as having your communication plan, have a marketing plan, just so that you can understand how soon you're going to be marketing, what channels you're going to be marketing to, how often. Usually you'll find that most clients need to have seen your message about your event at least 7 times before they start to take notice. So how long you should give to promote an event and market it an event, you need to give yourself, enough time and space. Don't give yourself, little time to promote it, because again, you'll fall short and, you won't get people booked onto it. With regards to how often and what sense you need in terms of marketing your event, the stats are there. 100 people need to have received your message if it's a free event to book on. So, a really small percentage of that. If it's a paid event, 1,000 people need to have seen that message. So you need to stick at it. You will probably be really sick of seeing the messaging about your event, before your audiences. So consistency is key. You need to show up regularly, engage with your audience on social media, send out e-marketing if that's relevant to your audience and how you're going to get to them. There are brilliant workshops that can give you advice on this, but you know, in our experience, consistency, regularly getting that message out there is where you're going to, you know, be successful. How you measure the success of your promotion campaign is the numbers, you know, the engagement, are people booked on? The great thing about social media is you can actually put out polls, so you can ask your audience what you want to know, and chances are people will respond to it as long as you've got that engagement there. The other thing is you can send out, obviously, questionnaires, but polls seem to be a great instant way to obtain that sort of feedback.
So next is step 4, which is the execution of the event. So I call this the execution or the delivery of the event. So when you're thinking about the delivery and execution of the event, it's the whole event from start to finish. So that includes any build days, live days, rehearsal days, breakdown days, everything. So that is what you're looking at when you're looking at the execution of the event. What I wanted to do to start with is talk through an actual live event that I've worked on, and you can go and research this if you wish to. I'll tell you briefly about the event. I'll go through some plans, and then I'll show you a video, and then I will talk through at the end then how to successfully deliver an event. So I'm going to talk about PlantWorks 2019. So PlantWorks is the UK's dedicated working construction show. So basically at this show you have diggers, dumpers, excavators, anything to do with construction, plant, equipment. It's the one show in the UK where everything is moving. So people come along and see actual moving pieces of equipment. And if you've got your right licenses and you've got your correct PPE on, you can actually have a go on these pieces of kit, which obviously is a dream for lots and lots of men who attend the event. The PlantWorks is a show purely about construction, plant and equipment. It's a show that's half indoors and half outdoors, so heavily reliant on our great British weather. It attracts exhibitors from all over the world. So we had exhibitors from Australia, from America, from the Far East. It's a chance for people to showcase their latest products, which people like to do. They like you to come and sit on their latest digger or their latest excavator or their latest concrete shiner and polisher. So it's a real hands-on show. There's lots of demonstrations that take place. There's conferences that take place. There's this year we had, well in 2019 we had a whole demonstration area which allowed people to sit on pieces of kit and learn how to work in a quarry. So it was actually training but in a virtual sense. So that was fantastic. It's aimed at anybody who's interested in construction, plant and equipment, from buyers to suppliers. It's school children attend the event, just general enthusiasts go. So it's really aimed at everybody who actually is interested in this particular field. On the last day of the show, it's aimed purely at school children. So primary school, secondary school children can come along to the show. They have a little trail, so like a little Gruffalo trail. They can go around and they can go to the stands and get freebies, and they can talk to the stand holders. And this is a way to kind of get children and young adults engaged in engineering and construction and plant. So it's a really good way to show people this is what it means. Actually, you know, we can come here, sit on this digger, and this could be your career if you want that to be. It's fascinating. Like if you've never been to it, it's like nothing that you've ever seen before. It's a 3-day show, part outdoor, part indoor, and yeah, nothing like in a big field. So it's fantastic. I wanted to show you the size of the event. So we've got so this is the actual plan of the show. So there was in total 450 exhibitors, so about 350 outside and about 100 inside. So everything, this mainly is the outdoor plan. So there was different kinds of exhibitors outside. So anything that is pink, which is more towards my left, your right maybe, you could dig in that particular part of the exhibition. So you could dig, which is amazing. You know, there are no shows really where you can actually go and dig up the ground. So this is a fantastic, unique selling point for the show. All the other pitches you can't dig on, but you can have live working demos. They just can't break the ground. So that's how the plan was split up. This is the indoor arena, so about 100 stands indoors. And the indoor, you might be thinking, well, who would want to be inside when there's all that great space outside to go and dig? So inside is suppliers to the industry. So it could be insurance, it could be solicitors, it could be trainers, it could be anything that people need. It's a service to that sector. Or it could be people that just don't want a big stand outside. So on the plan you can see everybody came through the same entrance, through the visitor entrance, had their badges in advance, scanned as they went in, and then everybody had to walk through the indoor exhibition to get to the outside, which is obviously key when you're planning a walkthrough of a plan. So that kind of gives you the size and scale of the event. This is a video I want to play for you. It is about 4 minutes long, but I think you'll see what it's all about.
It's a great variety of stuff. It's not just the big earth-moving equipment, the trucks, the excavators, the backhoe loaders, but also there's a lot of technology on display. So there's things like a simulation zone where we show how to drive some of these monster trucks and excavators. Another sort of thing now that's really taking off now, literally in the construction world, is drones. The use of drones on construction sites and also twinned up with the machines themselves. So that's pretty exciting.
I've come to Plantworks really to see the rail side of things. So I've come to see a couple of rail exhibitors. Some of the suppliers I want to see are in the construction piece, and some of the suppliers I want to see are in the rail side of things. But I think this has been awesome. This sort of innovation is exactly what the industry needs.
It's important for us to come and see our customers, show our new products and new features, and it's just a fantastic show.
We really enjoy it. There's lots of footfall, lots of new and interesting people that we meet, and there's a good mix of industries that come along.
On the last day of our show, it's a 3-day show, and on the 3rd day we always open that up to school students and more senior students to come along and see the kit, because one of the best experiences we've had at the show is to seeing those school groups come along. We've even had Diggerland come along to entertain them.
We came here because we have been part of an primary engineering project. Me and my team made an electrical car. My dad used to work as an engineer, so I've always been really interested. So yeah, it's really nice for me to be here.
We sell Thwaites, Kubota, Bomag and Manitou and Atlas Copco. All our main manufacturers are here at Plantworks, and for us it's a great opportunity to see all our manufacturers and their new products, but also see all our customers at the show over 3 days.
Never been here before. It's really good. Load of exhibitors come to see one of our clients and have a general look around to see all the other exhibitors here. It's great.
We have about 150 exhibitors in the permanent exhibition halls, as well as the 300 or so exhibitors outside. And we can bring all parts of our industry together in one place over 3 days and share that with the widest possible community. Several thousand people are all industry professionals.
So, as you can see, it is a bit of an epic one. It's a bit of a large-scale event there, and I thought it was just good to show you the video. Obviously, you go watch it again. It's on YouTube or it's on the Plantworks website. It is good to have a look at that. So I think when you're planning an event, whatever size, you just sometimes don't appreciate how well you've done to actually deliver the event. What I want to do now is just quickly just go through some points to ensure successful delivery for an event, and I'm going to do it for an event of this size, but they are relevant to any event, whether it's a meeting for 10 to 10,000 people. And the first thing that I would say is it's really important to have a strong team in place who are aware of their roles and responsibilities. So we've said right from the start of the process, you need to have time to think about the event, have time to think about who you want to work on the team, get your team in place and get their roles and responsibilities sorted. When you're delivering the event, that will help you because you know that your team understand what they're doing and will deliver it. And you need a strong leader in place. So whoever is in overall charge of your event, they have got to be aware of everything, fully in control of everything, and that person that is that overseeing role and has all the responsibility. So two really key things to start with. You need to make sure that the venue, so particularly for a live event, the venue has all the information that they need. You as the planner or the event director or the event lead, whatever your role is, it's your responsibility to make sure the venue has the most up-to-date information. So whatever changes, numbers, timings, anything, that has to go to the venue as soon as you have it. I would always advise the day of your event or the day before, have a pre-con meeting. So sit down with the venue and run through the details for the event. Again, whether it's a meeting for 10 to 10,000 people, it doesn't matter. Each and every event is really important, and it's important that it's right. So take the time out and speak to the venue and just run through everything line by line and make sure that everything matches up. We've said already about having a central project plan. So make sure that that is up to date, and anybody that needs access to it, they've got access to it, and people know what their responsibilities are linked to that project plan. And always have regular team meetings. So like we said in your preparation, make sure that from the start you put in your team meetings right from day one. And it's important when you're on site as well. So for PlantWorks, we were on site for 3 weeks. So every morning we had a team brief just to make sure we were all okay and we knew what was going on that day. And if anything had changed, we were all aware of what was going on. For an event of this size, and I suppose and any other event, know how you're going to communicate with each other when you're on site. So are you using walkie-talkies? Are you using phones? Are you using WhatsApp? How are you going to communicate information to people? So if something has changed, times have changed or setups have changed, how are you going to communicate to each other? How are you need a method of communication just to make sure that your team are safe as well. So think about that. That will ensure, again, successful delivery, because you can communicate changes to your team as they happen. Make sure that you have been in contact with all your suppliers. So particularly for PlantWorks, we had a lot of different suppliers. So we had to get toilets in, we had to get the water in, we had to get power in, we had to survey the whole site. So who are your suppliers? What information do you need from them? What do they need from you? And has that been communicated? If all that's in place, then you know that the delivery will be a success because people have got the information that they need. For PlantWorks, we needed a strong stewarding team. So the stewards were there to make sure that when the exhibitors arrived for build-up, they knew exactly where the exhibitors were going, they knew what size their pitch was, and they knew what was happening on that pitch. So the exhibitor feels welcome, they feel that the person knows what they're talking about, and they've also got a point of contact. So any conversations happen actually out in the field, and then anything then can be escalated up to the events team. So you're kind of managing responsibilities and line of communication as well. With PlantWorks, we needed, this will sound ridiculous, we needed weather updates, we needed traffic updates constantly because it was such a big show. We had, I think it's like 15 to 20,000 visitors over 3 days. So we needed to know what was happening on the roads. And then, of course, this event took place in June, so it rained a lot. So we needed that regular weather update sort of 5 weeks before, so we knew what to expect. So in the case of this event, it did rain for 3 days during all the live days was torrential rain. So we had to make the decision a couple of days before. We needed to get ponchos in for people, because even though everybody is dressed for an outdoor event, so everybody's in like their sensible shoes and probably waterproof trousers, actually if somebody hasn't come properly dressed, we would still like them to be able to go and enjoy the show. Always have a contingency plan. And I think, you know, the last few months of the situation that we're in now with COVID, that has more than anything highlighted the need for a contingency plan with every event. So for Plantworks, we do write a contingency plan for every event, and that generally that's around the weather, because historically Plantworks always rains, but on the odd years that it is sunny, actually we need a plan still for that. So we need to know where we can source sun cream from quickly, where we can source ponchos from quickly. Do we need more trackway to go down to ensure people can walk over the muddy, wet, boggy fields? Do we need more water stations to be able to get more water to people? So in your contingency for your successful delivery, you're thinking about kind of worst case scenarios. So what if there's high winds? The site that we used for Plantworks 2019, it is notorious for high winds, so you have to put that in your contingency. What happens if it's windy? Do you need to take stands down? Do you need to tether things down? So you're just thinking about the what if situation. And I think with contingency, the most important thing for me is to communicate with people. If you can communicate effectively with your team, with the venue, with your suppliers, with the exhibitors, your event will be a success. If you have, like we've said in the 4 steps beforehand, if you've done your preparation and planning, so if you've took time out to look at the concept of your event, so your who, your what, your where, your why, your when, if you've got that sorted and you keep referring back to it, most importantly, and if you have prepared for everything, so you've just took time to think about all the little things like who's on the team, what are they doing, how are you storing information, how are you disseminating information, and who is doing what, then when you come to your on the day delivery, you've done all of the hard work, and the delivery is just putting it into practice what you've been planning for the last few months. And I think the most important thing with delivery is you've just got to enjoy it. Like, you've worked really hard up to this point, so actually enjoy what you've done. Enjoy the fact that this event has come together and that people are attending, or you know, your boss is really happy with the venue that you've picked and the choice of meal that you've chosen, or he's happy with the, you know, how the communication's gone for getting delegates to there. Actually sit back and enjoy this moment, and then you can move on to the next thing.
Okay, so here's our final step, which is step 5, and that's feedback. There's definitely always something to learn. Feedback is one of the fundamental parts of an event, and regardless of the fact that it's at the end of the event, there's so much to take in and understand what worked, what didn't work, and everything in between. So what is the importance of having a debrief after the events, and why should you have a debrief, and who with? You need to understand what went well. You need to celebrate your successes with the teams, understand, you know, with your delegates, what went well for them, what they enjoyed. You need to understand what didn't go well. You know, they always say, no, you know, all feedback's good feedback, and it's true, because you need to be able to understand if it's a repeated event, then you want to be able to adjust it for the future. If it isn't, you want to understand how, you know, you want to improve upon, even if it's a new event the next time, at least you'll have learned something from it. And you will definitely be seen to be listening. You know, that's a really important thing. You know, it's great to think for you to think it went well, but actually you need to hear it from the delegates' point of view. They need to tell you how they felt about the event and what boxes it ticked for them. So that's definitely something you need to consider. So what is the importance of learning from your event? You need to gain the feedback, obviously get ideas for the next event, and listening. So how do you get feedback? You can put out questionnaires on the day. You can do different polls. There's lots of software out there that you can send questionnaires and surveys. Follow-up phone calls. That's a really nice personal touch. I think there's nothing wrong with actually picking up the phone and having a conversation. As much as we've loved technology the last, you know, few months, I've actually enjoyed having physical conversations on the phone with people, because I think you do get their undivided attention. So I think it shows that you care, you know, a little bit more. As I said, there's lots of survey software out there. There's things like SurveyMonkey, social media I mentioned earlier. There's so many options now to do polls, so you get a really instant response, which is great. There's software systems, and we as a business do use Gobby, which is a brilliant tool for sort of stakeholder engagement and understanding your audience. And it's a really open source system that enables people to answer the question, but also to see what others have said. So it's a really great opportunity to send that out to your attendees. Trustpilot and or any other you know, systems like that, you know, there's nothing more credible than having social proof that people are happy with what they've purchased, what they've attended, and Trustpilot's one of those. Text and WhatsApp. Obviously, you know, we're moving with the times. We need to be sure, again, our audience and what we're going to get the best response from. But, you know, they are quite popular. And, you know, if people are sending you text messages or WhatsApp saying, what a fantastic event, we really enjoyed it, why, you know, who's to say you can't take that feedback and use that? Really hope that you've enjoyed today's admin chat. We, as you can tell, are really passionate about events. Sheer Edge Training have got, you know, a whole range of options if you want to contact myself or Karen, and we'd be delighted to talk through this admin chat and or anything else to do with events. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.